I started U of L in 1968. Actually, I was fortunate enough to receive a full scholarship to play football at U of L. I had a great time. We lived in Elizabethtown. I grew up actually born in Louisville, and when I was in the second grade, moved to Elizabethtown. There, played high school football and basketball and baseball and all those sports that we all did in those days at Elizabethtown High School. Had a great team. We were state runners up. I was fortunate to get to receive many scholarship offers and from schools around this part of the United States. And when I had such a difficult time deciding where was I going to go, because each school sounded like they were, really concerned. They really wanted me, and I just didn't know what to do. And I had one of my coaches put a thought in my head, says, "What do you want to do with your life after football?" And I said, I think I want to be in the health sciences, either physician or dentist or something. And really, I really wanted to be an orthodontist. It just hadn't, I just didn't think that was attainable. But so he said, then my coach said, "You need to go to the University of Louisville." And that's what I did. So I went to the University of Louisville. My high school sweetheart also went to the University of Louisville, and she went through dental hygiene at the School of Dentistry. And we were married, and then actually had a son while we were in college, and later he went to the University of Louisville and the University of Louisville School of Dentistry and the orthodontic department. And so that's kind of our story. We went from Elizabethtown to Louisville, and then to the University of Louisville, and then back to Elizabethtown. So that's us. So like I said, we grew up in Elizabethtown, and we had just a magical type childhood. The town really supported us in all the sporting events, and we had excellent teams, and it was a good school. Elizabethtown High School is academically one of the top independent school systems in the state each year. So I was well prepared to go to the university, and so when we came to Louisville, it was just a wonderful time to be there. The football coach that I signed to play football for was Frank Camp, and Coach Camp had a heart attack and when my freshman year, and had to retire. And so the legendary Lee Corso came to the University of Louisville at my freshman year, and so I was fortunate enough to get to play for Coach Corso and had a pretty good career. And so had just wonderful friends, teammates. As a matter of fact, this year we had planned to have our 50th Pasadena Bowl reunion at the end of September, but due to COVID, we have to cancel that, and we postponed it till next year. So my wife and I have three sons. Greg, who's Dr. Greg Inman, who practices in our orthodontic practice in Elizabethtown, where we have three offices. We have Elizabethtown, Glasgow, Kentucky, and Campbellsville. And Greg and I practiced together for about 20 years. We have my middle son, Al, attended the University of Louisville, and Nick also attended the University of Louisville. He's our youngest, and he lives over here. And both those boys live in Louisville. We have 6 grandchildren. 5 of them are boys, and 1 granddaughter who is, they're all good athletes and just super nice children. They were just wonderful. We have such a great time. And one of our biggest things that we do as a family is we go to ball games. And that's what we do. We go to U of L ball games. We go to as many as we can. We go to all the football and basketball games. We go to a lot of baseball games. So that's pretty much the Inman family. Is a lot of our activities center around the University of Louisville.
One big Cardinal family. I love it. So I want to go back to your times on campus.
Okay.
And I mean, you have, is it 2 degrees in your residency here? So when you started here, take me back. You can, however you want to answer this, whether you want to focus on your undergraduate experience or, you know, the orthodontic experience, but tell me what some of the best memories you have of your educational experience at Louisville are.
Well, Matt, you know, when you spend from 1968 to 1978, that's a decade at U of L. I mean, we didn't have to move. You know, it was awesome. A lot of friends, a lot of different friends that stand out. My best friend when I was an undergraduate at the University of Louisville is George Howe. Everybody knows George. George we did everything together. My wife and I helped he and his wife at that time move in when he was hired when he came from West Virginia. And he taught me how to snow ski. And we went to Kentucky Derby, which was right after final exams. So, you know, you were ready for that. And it was just wonderful, wonderful experience. And then, of course, I was very fortunate to be accepted to dental school at the University of Louisville School of Dentistry. And so we didn't even move. I just went to a different, it's like staying there. My wife had graduated from the dental hygiene program at U of L, and she was working. And so we actually had $1 or $2 we'd spend. So we were able to get a car and that kind of thing. It wasn't a new car, but it was a car. And then my dental school experience, dental school is it's hard, but it should be hard. But you know, when you're going through with a great bunch of fellow students, everybody's kind of in the same boat. We had a fraternity, dental fraternity, that it was actually a co-ed fraternity. We had a few ladies in our fraternity as well, the Psi Omega dental fraternity. And just those friendships that you form and the relationships we have with our professors was just great memories. And then, you know, my last 2 years, we didn't have to move. We stayed for my orthodontic residency, which is a two-year program. And you know, I was really, you know, when I had graduated, so I was technically a doctor, you know, but I was still a student. But, you know, so that's a little weird. But all my faculty, part-time, full-time faculty in my residency program treated me as if I was a colleague and a doctor, and with respect. So it's a whole different mindset, and it was just awesome. It was just terrific.
Man, there's so much there. Thank you for sharing that. And I was going to say, you know, George Howe is everybody's best friend. It doesn't matter if he just met you last week. One of the things we love about George is he just, as soon as he meets you, you know, you're his best friend. You know, he's got a file on you. He's taking notes down and just always updating himself on what's going on in your life. So we're sad to see him retire, but gosh,
he'll never retire. You know, I know that you know, like when he passes away someday, as we all will, they're going to put him in a sarcophagus in the middle of the Red Barn, on the floor of the Red Barn, and you can walk by there and see George Howe.
Yeah, he's a true legend, a good friend to everybody at UL. Yeah, so we're excited for him to retire and finally get to do maybe a little bit more of the things he wants to do. But so it's staying with the theme of kind of your connections to UL, your time here. One of the things we like to ask people is, if you were to talk to somebody who was in the same life position you were in, whether you were first coming to U of L or as you continued on in your various degrees, what advice would you give yourself, that younger version of yourself, or current students today who are in a similar position?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. I think that uh, what would I, knowing what I know now, what would I tell myself? I guess is a good way to put it. I think I would say, take advantage of as much as you can that the university has to offer. So the university offers so much, and even more now than it was in those days. But student activities, be sure that you go to class. Make sure you go to class, because if you don't go to class, you're probably not going to be there very long. And study hard, but then also have some time, student activity time. Go to ball games, go to like you say, over to the baseball park, go to basketball games, the football games, student activities, the dances, those kind of things, so that you do have some fun as you're going. I mean, don't just make it study, study, study. That's why I think it's so important to live on campus. We lived on campus our entire time, and I would not have traded that for anything. So even though my dorm room over at Stevenson Hall was a little Spartan, we still managed to do okay. We had a good time, and we did that. And I guess lastly, I'd say, if I were going to give some advice to someone, I would say make sure after finals that you have enough energy to go to the Kentucky Derby.
Those are all great points of advice. So let's focus a little bit more now on your career after your time at U of L. And I asked you, what advice would you give folks who are just starting out at U of L, or to that younger version of yourself, knowing what you know now? But talk maybe to people who are aspiring to the same profession as you. What are some of the challenges and rewards of your field, and why do you love doing what you've done with your career?
Well, my field of orthodontics is, and I'm totally convinced it's the best field. We have the great fortune to work with healthy people who really want to improve their self-esteem, and that kind of thing. But I think it's very important to take a look at your patients, treat each one of them as an individual, and try to get to know them as a person and as a patient, and try to, be their friend as well as their doctor. And I think that's served me very well. I would also say, we're small business like anybody else, and sometimes you can get caught up in small business in the mindset that of how to make money. But I'm a firm believer, if you take care of your patients, you develop your staff, the people who work with you, and you put that patient first, that the money will take care of itself. And it really did for me. And so like I said, I had a great career. Another thing that I did that I really didn't realize, but I tried to mentor some younger people who were I remember when I was young, I didn't have a real handle on what I wanted to do. It was always some question in your mind, what I want to study, what I want to be. And when I see a patient who is a young person, I'll just put a seed, plant a seed in their mind that, they're going to have the smile and the teeth for dentistry. And so I said, you might want to consider that. And so I had over 60 in my career, patients that went into the dental profession. And I think that's pretty neat. I can say that I've never talked to another orthodontist or dentist who had that number. I know we all mentor patients and things, and try to steer young people to our profession. But that's a pretty neat thing that I can say. I look back on it and I say, that's probably one of the best things that ever came in my career.
That's wonderful. And I was just looking at your bio and was caught by one other thing I wanted to revisit, just kind of rewinding back to your time on campus. You know, you played football, you were good at football, and you had to balance a lot, right? So tell me, and maybe give some advice to current students. You know, one of the things you said was get involved, right? That was your advice, to get involved as much as you can, go to class. So maybe give just a little follow-up advice on how to balance those things in life, both your commitments on the field and your commitments off the field, the things you love that are passions for you, and then the things that you've got to do, like go to class and get your work done.
Yeah, that's another good question, and everybody has to do their own, and it's a little different maybe for everybody. But for me, I had to have some discipline because I was so busy with football, and when I was in undergrad, that you had to really be disciplined to study, and you had to be committed to study, because you'd go to class, and then you'd have practice in the afternoon, and then you'd have training table and sometimes meetings, and then you'd have to study. And so, and even sometimes on flights that we would go to play another team in another city, or on a long bus ride, I would have to study, because as a biology major, you take a lot of chemistry, biology, math, physics, those kind of things, and they don't really care too much that you're playing football, to tell you the truth. And so you just had to do it. So I think you had to figure out and be disciplined enough to treat it like it was a job. And you went to this job, you had this work to do, and then after work you could play. So, but fortunately, I didn't have to. I think if you study all the time and just don't have any outside activities, then that will take its toll on you as well. And I think I see the most well-rounded people are the ones that can balance that play and work and study and that kind of thing. So, but I know it is different for everyone, and not everyone has that opportunity to do some of the things that I got to do. I mean, I had never flown on an airplane, believe it or not, until my first away football game when I was a sophomore at U of L. So I was pretty much a country kid.
That's great. So tell me a little bit about what inspired you to take this career path? I mean, we touched on it briefly, but why did you choose orthodontics, and what was it and today that keeps you inspired on that topic? And I'm sure you're still recruiting more students and trying to get more people to pursue this as a career. So this, maybe touch on, like, what is it that personally inspires you about this work and why you chose it?
Gosh, that's a great question too. You asking some good ones here. Orthodontics, when I had braces as a child, it really was impactful. It made an impression on me that, wow, the day I got those braces off, I said, I don't look near as bad as I used to. As a matter of fact, I may actually be able to find a girlfriend. And so luckily I did. But I really put that in my mind as something I aspired to do, but it's such a long journey that you really sometimes lose, focus on that. But when the opportunity came at the University of Louisville School of Dentistry, and I had that opportunity to actually become an orthodontist, it's just like a dream come true. And our profession is just the best. Like I said, we work with healthy kids. We build self-esteem. It's not the easiest thing to do, but if it's rewarding, anything rewarding is usually a little more difficult. And but we're not dealing with life or death situations, and that's a nice thing. We're not dealing with we do have some very interesting problems, and everybody's different. So I used to liken it to putting puzzles together all day long, every day. And if you're that kind of person, you'll love this, because it is a challenge, and but it's so rewarding just to see how you can build the self-esteem and improve someone's how they feel about themselves. It's just so rewarding.
That's good. Thank you. You mentioned, the kind of the U of L family. So as we kind of wrap things up here, I kind of want to talk a little bit about how you still feel connected to the University of Louisville. Obviously, you're flying the flag in the background. You're in the Hall of Fame. You continue to go to games. What are the ways that you still feel most connected to the university, and what would you say to your fellow alumni about staying connected?
Well, the neat thing about being at U of L so long is we developed a lot of friends, and at U of L, and not just student friends, but a lot of faculty friends, friends who were just a few years older. You don't realize it when you're a student, and someone's your teacher. You think, oh, they're older, but really they're not that much older. And so we became friends. We stayed friends, and we are able to connect when we go to sporting events or even lectures or different functions that the university has. So we really enjoy seeing our friends and getting together with them. We sit at football games with some of my old teammates, and my mentor as a young orthodontist was John Mattingly. Dr. Mattingly is an orthodontist here in Louisville. His son, Chris, is an orthodontist. And I worked for John when I got out of school. And he's a huge U of L fan. I mean, he and his wife go to volleyball, softball games. They go to everything. And there's not a bigger U of L fan than John. But we travel, and we go to NCAA games and that kind of thing. So it's like I said, U of L, the University of Louisville, is literally our family, and we just feel like, okay, we're just going home, and that's what's the best part of U of L. The last several years, Matt, I was asked to be on the board of trustees of the American Association of Orthodontists, which the American Association of Orthodontists is divided into 8 regions, and each region designates a trustee to be their voice on the board of trustees. And then I was the trustee for the Southern Association, which is the Southern 11 states. And it's about 2,400 orthodontists are involved. We're the second largest region, if you will. And so last year, I just completed that. And I was as president of the American Association of Orthodontists. And so our annual meeting was canceled due to COVID, and that was supposed to be in Atlanta in March. And it was unfortunate, but it was canceled. But we did have a virtual meeting, which had an incredible turnout. And so we kind of turned lemons into lemonade. But the last 6 weeks of that, from the mid-March till the 1st of May, was extremely stressful and just very difficult. So I am no longer, I've finished my term, and I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with old friends that I have not seen in a few years. And I've missed a lot of events and things. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with U of L, not only athletically, but academically as well, with the dental school, and in particular the orthodontic program, which is near and dear to my heart. So it's a little strange not seeing patients, no longer being, I'm retired from my practice, but that's okay. That's good. I think there's a time for everything, and And so this just gives me a different opportunity to do something that I enjoy so much. But I'm the kind of person that I can't sit still. I have to be moving, you know. And so one of my physical therapist friends, she always tells me motion is lotion. So you got to keep moving. And so I'm saying, okay. So that's as long as I can, that's what I want to do. I want to be part of U of L.
That's great. You're actually going right in the direction of my last question, which is, you mentioned you're retired, but obviously still doing a ton of things. So what is it, what's next, and what are you doing to stay engaged with U of L and the community now, and orthodontics and the school? And, is there anything from what you're doing now you want to touch on, and what work or goals or community or time with family, what's next for you?
Yeah, so like I said, man, I was tied down the last several years, and I was so busy. It's really rewarding and a great way to end your career as president of the American Association of Orthodontists. I mean, it was an amazing ride, and I was so fortunate. Last year I spent time. I had over 19 different trips, a lot of them internationally. I was in Rio de Janeiro speaking to the Brazilian orthodontists. I was in South France speaking to the European orthodontists, and just all over the United States. I was in Canada. So I had, not many people get to do something like that. But now what do you do? That's the question. What are you going to do now with that? I've got a lot of time on my hands, and unfortunately I'm having a very difficult time getting the rust off of my golf clubs. But having said that, I am looking forward to some new challenges. I think, I'm still vibrant enough that I can do that. I'm not ready I do want to see my grandkids. I want to reconnect with them a little bit more. They're all good soccer players, and so I'm really having a good time watching them play soccer. But Matt, let me say before we close, I said, the decision to attend U of L, and in particular the School of Dentistry, was a great choice for me. It was just a great choice. I was able to fulfill my dream of becoming an orthodontist and practice a profession that I truly love. And I was able to have an incredible career, and I was able to practice with my oldest son for 20 years, and which is just very rewarding to do that personally. So, and U of L made that possible because they prepared me. They prepared my mind, and they prepared me for what I was going to do the rest of my life. And for that, I will always be appreciative. U of L prepared me so that I was able to succeed. I suppose that I could have failed, but it would have been very difficult to fail once you went through U of L. It was just awesome. And some of my undergraduate instructors, I remember Dr. Guy Furnish was the most amazing instructor. He taught me comparative vertebrate anatomy and histology. And his son actually taught at the dental school, Guy Jr. And he and I became friends, and he was an amazing instructor. So some of the instructors were just terrific. I mean, most of them were. And so, but several stood out. I remember Dr. Burt Monroe. Dr. Monroe, that he's the head of the biology department. I was struggling with my histology, and I needed a microscope so that I could, after football practice, the biology lab was closed. So I went to Dr. Monroe and I said, I've got this problem. I can't get into the lab at night after practice. And he just says, here, take this microscope and bring it back when you're finished. And so he gave me a $4,000 microscope that I was able to use to study my histology slides, and and I thought, wow, they really cared, and they really became good friends and dear friends for my lifetime.
That's great. And I was going to turn it over to you and say, is there anything else that, you want to say, or a part of your story you want to share, or a message you want to share with students or alumni? It's the floor is yours as we close. If there's anything else on your heart or mind you want to share.
My experience was very good. Like I said, I think you can tell by my what I've said so far. Not everybody has the opportunity to stay at one university for their undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate. But I did, and so I think it worked out great for me personally. Is it for everybody? Probably not. Probably it's good to go to different schools and go around and get a feel for different areas. But for me, U of L was just the right place to be at the right time, and I'm always appreciative of that. I would recommend to everybody, once you finish, the universities need you, and you should do your best to give back to the university. A lot of people think, well, you're a state-supported school, let the state taxpayers take care of the university. That's just not the way it is today. These schools' budgets are real tight, and they actually, I think U of L, the state funding gets cut almost every year. And, the future students that come to the university are all of our future. They're the ones that we need. We need them to get the education to be able to replace us in our practices and in our different areas of work. So we need to support our universities, and we need to give back. And so I've done my best to do that, and I think it's served me well.